Welcome to Think Bigger Voices, hosted by Jennie Treby and co-produced by Tony DiBenedetto. We're on a mission to break the cycle of poverty for kids in America by inspiring education, advocacy, and action in our communities. We'll tackle big subjects, talk to the experts, and promote the solutions making an impact. Join us if you believe that every kid deserves the opportunity to think bigger.
Welcome to Think Bigger Voices. I'm Jennie Treby. We're in the greater Washington, D.C. region, where we are interviewing some incredible people with wonderful stories and doing great work in the community. With me here today is a former Horatio Alger National Scholar. His name is Daniel Lind, and he is going to share his story with us, and we're just so excited to have you here. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to start off by, let's talk about your work.
Okay.
Because I think it's just really cool. You're in public service. You're with the U.S. Department of Transportation currently. And you're an engineer. And you are a compliance safety engineer, officer.
Yeah, I'm on the team that does, if you've ever gotten a recall for like your vehicle, I'm on that team. So I think it's a pretty important thing that the government does. We purchase vehicles, we test them, and when we find issues, we work with the manufacturers to, determine if it's a safety issue, and then sometimes a recall comes out of that. And by the time it's a recall, it's a pretty serious thing. So if you ever get a recall on your vehicle, it's free to take care of. It's just a matter of scheduling it.
So recalls are actually then managed by the government then, or
how does that work? They can also be initiated by the manufacturers as well. So sometimes it's government, compliance testing that finds an issue. Sometimes the manufacturers find it themselves.
Okay. I also read in your bio that you've worked on school bus safety.
That's right. Yeah. I think the government is the only entity that does the same thing, recall, safety testing for school buses, which is a pretty important
absolutely, got to keep the kids safe, getting to and from school. How did you fall into a career, because you're an engineer, but how did you fall into a career kind of centered around safety and compliance?
Yeah. Well, I guess it goes back to, I think it's the typical poor, kid's story where my mother's side of the family immigrated from Cuba back in the 60s. I grew up in a mostly single-parent household without a great positive male role model, if you will. And so I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, and I liked playing with Legos. My aunt would give me Legos, and so my strong Cuban grandmother would tell me in English or in Spanish, would say, you're going to be an engineer. And so I had the typical engineer story where I played with Legos. I was told I was going to be an engineer. So by the time later on when I realized I could go to college through scholarships and things like that, that's what I studied, engineering. I would say I'm of average at best intelligence. So I struggled
I doubt that
in school. I failed algebra at one point as well. So I think if I can become an engineer, anyone can. Just takes persistence. And
so an engineer who failed algebra, that goes to show you that you can't let grades define you, right?
It's pretty embarrassing.
I didn't do well in algebra either, but I'm also more of like a marketing person, so that's expected.
Yeah. So I got an engineering degree, and then I graduated in 2009 during the recession. I couldn't find a job, so I decided to go get another engineering degree. So I ended up getting an automotive engineering degree, and so that's kind of what has led me to the automotive safety. So
you got an automotive degree. What's your master's degree in?
Automotive engineering from Clemson University. Yeah.
Interesting. So have you always had a passion for like cars and automobiles, or?
Not really. I went to that program because it was pretty unique. It was kind of a project-based graduate degree. We designed and built an entire vehicle in a 2-year span. So I
Oh,
thought that
wow.
was pretty interesting. I wanted to get
Yeah.
involved with that.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience.
So what brought you to DC?
So after I graduated from Clemson in South Carolina, I applied to a fellowship, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, which was a fellowship to bring, I guess, young Latino professionals to experience what the government's all about. And so through that fellowship, I was able to work for some time on the Senate and
Wow.
and learn how things worked there.
Yeah.
And then from that, that's how I kind of got my foot into the door of the federal government. And I've been working in public service kind of since then, since
Yeah.
2014-ish.
Wow. So let's go back a little bit. So you are, what year did you graduate from high school then?
2005.
2005, Horatio
Florida.
Alger Scholar, National Scholar.
Yeah.
So you were like this National Scholar, you're flown to DC
Yeah.
for the big, award ceremonies and all that. What was that like for you?
That was very I guess pretty life-changing in terms of that week, kind of week-long or several days that scholars spend in DC, coming from all across the country, is just a week-long of positivity, encouragement, all of that stuff kind of mixed in, and so for me, and I think a lot of the alum that I've gotten to know over the years, I think we all kind of share that experience. Kind of just really, we draw upon that. Like, sure, that was a one-time thing back in 2005, I guess for me, it's a long time ago. But I've continued to think back and redraw on what I gained from that experience, throughout my low moments as the years have gone on. So that's kind of what I've really, I don't know how to verbalize that very well.
I think you're verbalizing it just fine. Is that part of what kind of drives you to stay involved?
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a special membership then,
Yeah, it's just like I guess inspiration, empowering, and the desire to want to share that with others who are also in my position, if that makes sense. That's kind of why I like to volunteer, give as much as I can back.
Yeah. So take us back. So you raised in South Florida, and like you said, single mom, grandma. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing and how, you said grandma always said you're going to be an engineer, but how did you get from those dreams and somebody telling you like that to actually going for it?
Yeah. So in high school, I realized that if I wanted to do as my grandmother told me and go to college and become an engineer, I had to figure out a way to pay for it. So I started late in my junior year. I started applying to a whole bunch of scholarships. It was kind of like back then I used to joke, it was my second job. And it was kind of a full-time job. But I applied to about 60 or so scholarships from what I remember. And
60?
Yeah, about 60 or so.
Of course that was a job.
It was a lot of late nights and essays and stuff like that. And what I found, which I guess others find this too, but years later I looked back at my initial applications, and it was I think back like, no wonder I didn't win those, because my essays were terrible. But as I had more practice, I got much better. But I ended up earning about 12 of them. The Horatio Alger Scholarship was the largest one, the most impactful, because it had this, experience as well in DC. Where
and the element of they want to hear about your adversity.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then so with that, I was able to go to college. The best college I applied to that I could get into that paid for me to, allowed me to go because I couldn't afford anything, was University of Southern California. So I started over there. My mom, my dog, and I went all the way over there.
So your mom went to college with you?
Yeah, since it's always been just us, she's always stuck around. And, it's always just been us. So
Sure.
Yeah.
You're a group.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
your posse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I remember we were talking. So you had a kind of a interesting college experience. So you got to USC, and then you didn't stay there.
Yeah, I did
So
not
what
do well
happened?
my first 2 semesters. I kind of, slacked off. I had senioritis. And my mother has always been a housekeeper. She was working over there. She got injured on the job. She couldn't work for a few months. By my 3rd semester, I was able to focus. I had a talk with my mom. She straightened me out. But then we ended up moving back home to be closer to my grandmother and the rest of my family. So we drove across country, transferred to FIU for 1 semester, which they were able to help me again with covering my tuition. I think I was, I think the Florida Bright Future Scholarship. And then finally, after that semester, I transferred to University of Miami as a normal transfer for the fall, and that's where I ended up graduating.
That's where you ended up graduating.
Yeah.
So your mom then moved back across the country.
Yep.
It makes me think that this has just been as much of a journey for your mom.
Absolutely. And she's up
As
here
it
with
is-
me, too.
is she?
She moved
Yeah.
to D.C. when I moved to D.C., moved to South Carolina when I moved to South Carolina. Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
So it's really been an impact on your family, not just you.
Yeah,
not
that's
just
accurate.
you.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you think about, why is it important for organizations like Horatio Alger to provide these scholarships? I mean, obvious, like paying for college, but more than that, like, why do you think it's important?
Yeah. I mean, I think to like why me? Like, why was I able to get out of the cycle of poverty, have some sort of success, what I call success at this point in my life, when other people, other kids that I went to school with had similar opportunities but did not. And I attribute it to primarily my mother and grandmother, who always, no matter what terrible stuff was going on in our lives, were always kind, supportive, empowering for me. But also, organizations such as the Horatio Alger Association that, again, just a few days of interaction with the staff of the association upon winning that scholarship, I still have memories clear as day and I can feel the positivity, the encouragement that they just shared. So I think it's just so important to continue to have organizations like this and people on staff and volunteers. A lot of the people that I remember back then were volunteers just helping the association, who were just willing to give their time, spread some kindness and empowerment to kids who then that just, is so much fuel that lasts for so long to then help, as I said, like as life throws more curveballs, I can draw upon that, and I know others can draw upon that to overcome those hurdles and reach their own form of success, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Well, and I think what's really neat too about the Horatio Alger Association in general is when they, there's this huge scholarship program, right? And remind me what year the scholarship program started?
So that was 1984 when it was formalized, and I think their first class of scholars was 6 scholars, and now I think every year it's 2,000 scholars, and I think the first year they started with 50,000 across those 6 scholars, and now I think it's several million. I forget the exact number across 2,000 scholars every year.
But when you consider that, when you talk about this event that you go to and the scholars go to, you're also at the same time, these titans of industry are getting these awards, becoming, the Distinguished American Award, with Horatio Alger. And every one of these people has overcome some sort of adversity.
Yeah.
And so the fact is that it's celebrated. It's almost like lifted up. So instead of everybody just, kind of sweeping things under the rug and not wanting to talk about it, it's almost like you celebrate it and it's there, and you can feel it. Having been to the event, you can feel it.
That's true, and it's so it's refreshing in that aspect, and it's also just so empowering to just see, what is possible in this country, than the free enterprise system where you have these people that have overcome so much, and yet they can chart their own path to their form of success.
Yeah.
So why can't these scholars, like I was one, do the same?
Yeah.
You can do it, and I think that's kind of the general theme. You can do it. We're there to help and support you. Look at these examples, that's a great message.
Yeah. So you mentioned the American enterprise. So, and that's such a key component, you know. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you to have that, especially with, your grandma?
Yeah,
being
exactly.
An immigrant? What does that mean to you and your family?
I grew up with stories from my grandmother who, I don't know if this is true, but again, it's stories from my grandmother who apparently she and her brother went to college with Fidel Castro, and Fidel Castro would sometimes come over the house as well.
No kidding.
Again, I don't know. So my tío abuelo, my grandma's brother, was an attorney, and I think he went to law school with Fidel. But then when Fidel was, taking over, like my grandmother was apparently one of the largest resistance fighters, and so. I heard stories from my grandmother. I heard stories from my mom. One of her earliest memories apparently is of guards coming into the house, pointing guns at her when she was 3 or 4, searching for the house for weapons, and there were weapons in the house. So having, heard all of that growing up, not having to experience any of that in this country is kind of great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we all take, advantage. So
Yeah.
how'd your grandma wind up here?
Again, I don't know what the true story is, but the story that I was told is she had to somehow forge some papers in Cuba to get everyone plane tickets out, but my grandfather was arrested because he was a suspected resistance member, and she had to search different jails for him. I don't think she could find him. He and a group of buddies escaped whatever jail he was in, hijacked a boat, and then somehow got out.
Wow.
Yeah, I think my aunt, I think she has a lot of our family history. Mm-hmm. So I think I should touch base with her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those are some good stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, it goes to show you that, the American enterprise, the American system of education and business is like no other.
Yeah.
Well, you do a lot of work in addition to all the work you do with Horatio Alger Association. You do a lot of work with STEM and bringing STEM and Hispanics together. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I volunteered with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers ever since college. They were one of the first. Actually, they were the first organization. Since college was new to me, I didn't know what it was. My none of my immediate family had gone to college, at least in the U.S. I was introduced at USC to the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and they were kind of like the support structure there. They would share, exams from certain professors, as to what their experience was with that. They would mentor me, in calculus, in physics, which was very difficult, very enjoyable. But that's kind of the mentorship I received. So then when I graduated, I became a professional member. And so I've volunteered a lot in the DC area, helping kids. They do a Noche de Ciencias, which is a science night. So it's an event where they bus in typically low-income students from different schools, about 100 or so, expose them to some, snap circuits or some cool little science demonstrations. Or we've also done in the DC area regional leadership development conferences where students in college as well as working professionals kind of come together. We invite companies to speak at these events, to get internship connections and job connections, kind of things like that. So there's a lot going on with that organization as well.
That's great. You're staying busy.
Yeah.
Do you ever?
It's all good.
Yeah, it's great, and it I imagine has to feel good. Do you ever think about, like, I'm sure you do, like, think about, like, pause and go, oh my gosh, I'm here doing this. And not that long ago, I was a little boy, struggling, in poverty. How do you process that?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the kind of the reasons I keep wanting to give back. I say give back, but really I've gotten so much from the association and from these organizations. It's really just kind of trying to repay the debt that I feel that I owe them. But it's just with all of these opportunities to give back, I just see myself and all the kids that come in, that are bussed in for this event or that are excited about this cool little science thing. And I just want to try to set that example that has been set by me, by so many volunteers of this association or staff that believed in me and just showed me kindness and said you could do it. That's kind of, and working with other volunteers that are also parts of these organizations as well. We all kind of share. It's great to meet them, get to know them, and to be able to share that, like that shared vision toward helping others. It's kind of what I get out of it and what I hope to give others out of it.
With all the work that you do with kids and especially in the Hispanic community, what are you seeing? Like, what are your observations do you have about these kids? Is it different from when you were a kid, or is it same themes? Or
it's a lot of trying to quell those fears, but it's very difficult, and that's why just the positivity that you can do it, those messages just never fade away. They're still as strong as ever, because it's just the latest hurdles to overcome, it seems like.
Yeah. If you were to talk to your 12 or 13-year-old self, what would you say?
So much. The lottery number's obviously the first one.
Right.
I would say, I think, just, I think if I could do that, I would probably say the same message that was told to me a little later on. Just, you can do it. You can be successful. Believe in yourself. Just go after your goals and don't let anyone tell you no. I think the earlier that message, it's just the better. Yeah, from what I understand, I don't know what the latest stats are, but when I looked into it a few years ago, I think around like 6th grade, but I think just in general, the earlier you can have a student believe in themselves, the more successful they'll be. Especially, I remember the statistics for like little girls in STEM. I think it was like 6th grade or like 8 or 10 years old, something like that. That's like kind of like the critical junction between when they don't believe they can pursue a STEM degree or when they believe they can and then pursue one.
Yeah. That early kind of intervention, not intervention in a bad sense, but that early positivity
can make like the world a difference on the paths that you believe are acceptable to you. Did
you have mentors along the way?
Yeah, so many, and that's the best rationale, excuse that I can think of as to why I became successful out of all of my friends that I went to school with in the same poverty conditions that didn't. Maybe it was just the right time where I was receptive to such mentorship. But I've had mentors like in high school, the scholarship lady at my high school, who helped
you with 60 scholarships.
Yeah, who I walked into her office. I said, "Hey, how do I go to college?" And she put down a piece of paper, said, "Apply for this." And I said, "Okay," I filled it out. "Okay, apply for this one." And again, was I just the receptive one that smiled and said, "Okay," versus saying, "Well, I don't have the time," or, maybe she just caught me at the right time.
At the right time.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my best
Kind of the magic of mentorship, isn't it?
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was able to touch base with her many years later.
Oh, no kidding. How
which
was
was
that?
great. Oh, it was great.
She must have been thrilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she told me a whole bunch of backstories of my high school that I wasn't aware of. Yeah, so that was fun.
You mentioned, growing up with other kids who maybe didn't break out of the cycle of poverty. Is that hard to think about?
It is, because it does feel unfair as to why
you?
Why me?
Yeah.
Again, I don't mean to be, but I'm of average intelligence. I'm not
I don't
a
buy
superstar.
that for a second.
There's nothing really special about me. So why me? And I think other alums of the Horatio Alger Association, who I think I've grown very close with some of them over the years. I think we share that kind of mystery, like why us when we have so many others that we were around. I attribute it to those mentors, those key touch points. And so that's why I want to provide as many opportunities for key touch points for other kids who might be in those similar situations.
Right. It's real for you. Very personal.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you think? Because a lot of what we try to do with the podcast is just really educate people and help them understand. What do you think are some misconceptions that people have about, kids and family living in poverty?
I think, it's easy to, just discount people in poverty. They may not vote, they may not, know English or whatever, but again, a child, if you give them the empowerment and the opportunity, they could become in this country the next president.
Right.
They could be set, and all it takes is a few words of kindness, of encouragement, which that person can think back on the next low point in their life, and maybe it gets them over that, and that's my kind of biased view of how I think about it. So even when I try to discount people, I always think, well, how can I do that? If I wasn't provided those key touch points,
I would imagine it causes you to be much less judgmental of other people's situations.
Yeah, I just have to. And of course, I get sometimes conceited and stuff like that, but then I have a conversation with myself and I say, well, I can't be like that because look at me.
Yeah. Final question for you. What's one thing that somebody can do to help out a kid in need? I
think volunteering, when whatever time is available, just volunteering to just help in either an organized event or with a local organization, to just help with a kids program. Just volunteering some time, providing those touch points of kindness, encouragement, can just mean the world of difference to a kid, and it can last for so long. It's 1 minute to us could last to, I'm sure, the mentors that I had over the years, especially when I was younger, my English teacher in high school, I'm sure he doesn't remember most of, if anything, of what he told me, but I still remember all the words of encouragement, all the letters of recommendation that he signed for me for all those scholarships.
I bet he does remember you.
Yeah.
I bet he does.
So that's what.
But that's just it as adults too. I think sometimes it's hard for us to remember that things we say, stick with kids, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, you have such an incredible story, and I know that we're in good hands in our autos. We're safe because of your work, but really the world's just a better place because of people like you, and we just appreciate everything you're doing, and really celebrate your journey.
Well, thank you. I think the world's a better place because of, Think Bigger for Kids, Horatio Alger Association, all of these organizations that have people that put in the time to formalize these programs, to have these, to select the right staff, to build the right teams. Now as I get older, I realize the work that goes into it and the impact that all those kind of executive decisions make to then help so many kids.
Yeah. I should also mention that if you want to learn more about the Horatio Alger Association, about the scholarship program, but as well about the amazing household names that you will see of people who have received this award is really celebrities, public servants, politicians, like you. It's pretty
with great stories.
Great stories, all of them. HoratioAlger.org. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for spending your time with Think Bigger Voices. Visit thinkbigforkids.org/podcast to see more episodes, follow our journey, and stay connected.